everyone, welcome. This is Ramola D from Ramola D Reports, and I'm here today again with Dr. Robert Young, who has become quite a familiar face, I think, on this channel and on my show. We're very pleased to welcome Dr. Young to the show tonight because he has some breaking news to share with everybody. Now, people may have started to follow some of the great disclosure that's been coming out of various doctors, really, various doctors, pathologists who've been looking at blood and finding clotted blood in people who have died shortly after taking the vaccine and therefore are attributing this blood clotting scenario to the vaccine itself. And we've actually been seeing some really horrendous pictures, I think, from Dr. Ryan Cole, who's a pathologist, and various other people. Now, Dr. Robert Young also looks at blood under the microscope, but I think the difference is he looks at live blood. And so he's been sharing with me recently some new pictures of blood of people who've been recently vaccinated. And he sees over there micro and nano blood clots that are sort of the first steps to forming further problems and further blood clots in the body. So he's catching the problem before it becomes larger. You know, he's helping people address these issues before they become really deadly and fatal. So Dr. Young has a real background in biochemistry, in hematology, in looking at blood under the microscope, different microscopes. I mean, he's a optical and an electron microscopy expert. I understand he has 40 years of experience behind him. He's done a great deal to inform and educate the world on this subject. He's held seminars, he's lectured at various universities around the world, and he certainly helped educate us, those of us who watch this channel and who've been on my, who watch my show regularly. He certainly educated me in terms of what things look like under the microscope and what they mean. So what he's going to do today is hopefully take us a little bit further on that journey and explain to us what this what blood clots look like under the blood, under the microscope, and what it means for people who've been vaccinated and what steps they can take to ameliorate this and to help their health get better. So first of all, Robert, thank you for being here again. And thanks for being interested in the subject still and helping to educate the world. And feel free to let everybody know what your background is, so which helps inform your efforts here.
Yeah, thanks, Ramola. Appreciate the introduction. And I will do my best to try to keep this simple because the subject is quite intense. In fact, I've shown my work at many universities, University of Vienna, Tsinghua University in China, Oxford University, Stanford University. I've been sending out, for those who ask, I'm happy to send it out, is a presentation. It's a 2-hour presentation that was also put on BBC, not BBC, but public broadcasting for many years. And it's the Harvard lectures, and it's in 3 parts: part 1, part 2, part 3. And in there, you can actually see some of the work that I've done over the last 4 decades. And so that's a great lecture, I would say, that would help educate people on not only just my foundational theories that actually are in dichotomy to the germ theory, but really focus on a doctrine of the terrain theory and a doctrine called pleomorphism. And when I was at the University of Vienna, I remember a hematologist who was evaluating my work. He said, "I've never seen, in the 20 years I've been teaching hematology at the university, I've never seen at any time, under a microscope or otherwise, even micrographs of biological documentation of bacteria literally evolving out of the cell membrane of a red blood cell." And in this case, I was showing an anthrax It was literally being born out of the red blood cell.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
and
I've
then I
seen those
and then I
videos.
showed the reverse of that because
Mm-hmm.
it can go in and out from that perspective. So it really validated for me Béchamp's work uh, when he
Mm-hmm.
made when he made the statement that germs are born in us and from us. And so we're looking at germs generally. These are
Mm-hmm.
symptoms of cellular degeneration. When we're looking at the corona effect or the crowning of the membrane of the cells, that's a symptom that's born from a change within the context or the environment of that particular matter evolving or adopting to a different environment. And so even the spike protein is endogenously created and born out of the cell. It's not an infection, and we've talked about this before, but it's an outfectious condition
Yeah.
where cells actually alter their anatomy and become something else. And
Mm.
I know you all understand this because if you've
Yes.
ever owned a refrigerator and if you've ever left food in the refrigerator, what do you find, if you've left it in there too long? You find biological transformations of that particular matter giving birth to bacteria, yeast, and mold. And yet there's no infection. It's actually an endogenously created outfectious condition as the food begins to spoil from the inside out, not the outside in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the manifestations, even on a banana, we all know what happens to a banana, right? It starts out green, and
Mm-hmm.
it goes yellow, and then it
Mm-hmm.
gets its little black spots, and then it gets more spots, and then it starts becoming moldy, and that's all endogenously created, not from an infectious condition, as if the banana caught something. All the other bananas are doing the same thing. So, I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
theory of an infectious condition uh, really doesn't make sense in the way that I'm trying to describe it. Is that true health is managed and maintained by maintaining the context or the environment. And so all of these diseases are diseases, whatever name it's given, by whatever
Mm-hmm.
name. So some of the names we've heard lately are what? Monkeypox.
Oh, monkeypox, right.
What is the
Yeah.
symptom? The symptom is the
Omicron,
deterioration of
Delta
the skin,
plus,
right?
monkeypox. God knows what's next,
Yeah,
right?
you see all these outbreaks on the skin, but that's all that is you're deteriorating and fermenting from the inside out, not because of an infection, but because of an outfectious condition as the body tries to manage and maintain the delicate pH balance of the internal environment and purify it. It does that through the third kidney. Now, I know many of you think that you just have two kidneys, right?
Hmm.
If you
Yeah.
grab the back of your back here down by your waist,
Right.
you're actually grabbing your kidneys, but you actually have three kidneys.
Oh,
You have
which
two
one
back
is the
here,
third?
and then the skin is the third kidney.
Oh,
And people
because it
people don't
has the
realize
same.
that they're actually urinating through their skin. That's why we call it body odor.
Wow.
But yeah, body
Never
odor is
thought of it
nothing.
that way.
Yeah, body odor is
Funny.
nothing but urine coming from the interstitial fluids as the
Mm-hmm.
body tries to purify itself. So sweat is a waste product that, if not eliminated, that goes through the kidneys and then out through urination. But if you're sweating and exercising, then you urinate through your skin. So
Okay.
when you have outbreaks, or you have pimples and what blemishes and what have you, that's just waste
Mm-hmm.
product that has spoiled that area of the body, causing these breakdowns of that a skin cell, a muscle cell, a brain cell, and we label it disease because there's an agenda behind all that. The agenda is if we don't have any diseases, then why would we take a treatment or a drug for a disease that's nothing more than a symptom of an underlying cause? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Right.
realizing that bananas don't get old, they mold. That bodies don't get old, that they mold, and this process is of molding over time is what we call aging. And aging is a process of your inability, for whatever reason, to be able to take care of your internal environment, either by omission or by commission. So
Can
you
I
you
ask a
really know
question?
you really know you should take care of your body. I mean, all of us says, is exercise good for us? But the question
Mm-hmm.
is, why is it good for us?
Mm-hmm.
Why should we be sweating every day? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so how does this all tie into clotting? Well, the way
Right.
it, and that was a question as a way of introduction to my research, and particularly, the professor at the University of not Utah, but that's where I went, but for the first 2 years of my undergraduate work. But
Mm-hmm.
that was my grandfather's university. He founded it.
Oh,
He founded
Brigham
he
Young.
founded two universities. I could have gone anywhere I wanted to. University of Utah, Brigham Young University. I got offers at the Air Force Academy. I got offers uh, in California and in Oregon, University of Oregon. I still have the papers, full ride, all expenses paid.
Oh, wow.
Uh, but I live close to. I'm from Salt Lake City. I live close to the university, and my coach was there, Harry James, and I had this funny feeling about Brigham Young University. I said, well, why would I want to go there? You've got to drive down the road, 35 to 40 miles, from Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now it's totally ridiculous. I mean, 30 miles is nothing,
Yeah. But
particularly if
back
you're
in the
living.
day, it was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of the time, especially when you could ride your bike or walk or run,
Oh, right. Yeah.
or it was, or if your girlfriend,
Mm.
was down the street a couple of blocks. I mean, why would you
You wouldn't want to
want?
leave, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some pressure there. I said, don't leave me.
Mm.
Why don't you
Mm-hmm.
stay home and go to the university here? And then I
Right.
had other plans in my youth to serve an ecclesiastic mission, which I did to serve humanity at no pay. So I actually spent 2 years out of my life, helping others
Oh,
with
were
no
you
pay. In
working to
fact,
be a pastor or something?
what's that?
Were you working to be a pastor or something like
No,
that?
I was an ordained minister,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
at the age of 19.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Well, you can if you choose to do it, and I lived in poverty for 2 years. Now that
Okay.
doesn't mean I didn't have sufficient for my needs, but
Mm-hmm.
living without the luxuries of life that we enjoyed growing up, coming from means,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean literally coming from means, uh, that you go from wealth to poverty is quite a learning experience for a
Yeah.
young man at the age of actually 19, 20, and spending 2 years living on
Mm-hmm.
$165 a month.
Wow. That
That was
is
it.
quite a come down. Yeah, I can
And that was
imagine.
that was to pay rent, that was to buy food, and I didn't have a car until 3 months out, to where after 3 months, I ended up with a van, and then we formed a group called the Family Portrait. And the Family
Hmm.
Portrait was a musical group, and my fame to
Oh,
claim is my only performance, command performance, in front of the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth.
wow. Amazing.
And she
That's
saw
huge.
me,
Mm-hmm.
her and their family saw me. They've heard me sing, which is one of my passions.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And one of the songs that I wrote at the age of 19 is entitled "Who Am I?"
Oh, you wrote that song? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds
So
like
who am
kind
I?
of
In
song.
fact, the Beatles wrote a song about me called Dr. Robert.
What? The Beatles
Yes.
wrote a song about you?
Yeah. So you go to Google and put the word Dr. Robert, put the Beatles and Dr. Robert, and you'll
Okay.
learn about my special concoction, my special green drink. I was
Oh,
the first
wow.
I was the first scientist in the world to develop the first pulverized dehydrated green drink
Oh,
that's been
okay.
sold in over 175 countries in the world.
Oh my gosh. Did you
Yeah,
know the Beatles? Did you know the guys from the Beatles?
well, yeah, I was at Ringo's just a few years back. I was just at Ringo's, like, what was he, 60 something? I don't know. I was talking. Yeah, but
Ringo is
I haven't.
can't be
Yeah,
60. He
John
must be
McCartney
older
lives
than that.
back in. Yeah, yeah, but the other Beatles, the other two, Lennon and, yeah.
Paul McCartney, Ringo
Well,
Starr,
Paul
John
McCartney's still
Lennon,
alive, Ringo, yeah. So
George
yes, I do know.
Harrison. That was the other one.
Well, George
Yeah.
Harrison, yeah, he died from cancer. He wouldn't listen to me, but anyway,
Uh,
the bottom line
hmm.
is that, you know, I've had an incredible life.
You've had an incredible career if you knew the Beatles and they wrote a song about you. Wow, this is huge, Robert.
Anyway,
I know you
the
told me
song I
that you
wrote,
played.
and I
You
recorded it. Well, I recorded at the same studio in London called Timpan Alley. And
oh,
at the
wow.
time, you're not thinking like, okay, I'm playing, Paul McCartney's guitar, right?
Oh
And
my gosh.
I'm using,
How
but
huge is that?
yeah. So because I play the guitar, I play the drums, you know,
Wow.
uh, a little,
You're
a
very
little bit of
talented.
some of the other in the bass,
Mhm.
upright or otherwise. But the bottom line was that and I was thinking about this today because I think there's really four questions that people need to ask themselves. And and the first question that one should ask themselves, and I know this is kind of off the subject of pathological blood coagulation, but it's really not, because because when you understand my background and then where I went with all this, but it's the four questions are: who am I? The second question is why? Where did I come from? Why am I here, and where am I going? Right? And you're thinking, well, what does this have to do with pathological blood coagulation? Well, I came up with this. I came up with this theory that all sickness and disease is caused by a perverted way of living, eating, and thinking. It's a perversion. Sickness and disease is a perversion of health. And I've spent my whole life trying to empower people to understand who they are, because when you understand who you are, why you're here, and where you're going, and where you came from, one of the major factors in your life, you become more certain and less fearful. And I see right now, as Moses described, my people perish because of ignorance. Is There's really a lot of confusion and
Yeah.
misunderstanding, even in this world of pathology, even in this world of hematology, even in this world of understanding true anatomy. That, as Neil Solomon said about my work, Dr. Young is on the threshold of a new biology that will revolutionize the biology and medical worlds as we know them today. It literally rewrites all of medicine. And I don't say that boastfully. I'm just saying that first, if you want to understand anything, you have to understand yourself, who you are,
Yeah. And
where
can
you
I
came
ask
from,
about?
why you're here, and where you're going. And even though there's bad actors out there,
Hmm.
that are doing bad things to good people and bad
Hmm.
people,
Right, right.
and we start looking at this thing, and that's what I saw uh, the pictures of the bags of clots. Okay, and those are not arterial clots. So we're pulling out clots in the large veins and arteries. But see, that's an end result. I mean,
Yeah.
you're looking at dead people, and there could
Hmm.
be other factors that have created those clots that even happened, after the fact. I mean, they do the autopsy, but I mean, here again, uh, there could have been other factors that could have created some of this. But they're fibrous material. They're made of a cascade of various proteins that lead, up to that begin with factor 7. And I'm not going to get into the details, but I did publish a paper in 2016 on this subject, and it's called Pathological Blood Coagulation
Oh,
and
yes.
the
I've
Mycotoxic
seen
Oxidative
that.
Stress Test.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was at school studying, and people said, "Where did you go to school?" And I said, "Well, I think that's where you have to understand why you're here. Because if you understand why you're here, that this Earth experience is school.
Oh, yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. Yeah.
Yeah, that this is the school of life, and that we come here to learn and to grow. And what are we to learn and grow if there's not duality? And so in the universe there needs to be opposition in all things that we might learn by our experience.
So you
So you can't
understand
say
that
I don't like cold, I don't like hot. I love love, but I don't love hate. But how would you understand love or be able to contrast or understand it without contrasting it with hate? So when I was asking the question, why does the blood from my dissertation for one of my doctorates, why does the blood coagulate inside the blood vessels?
hmm
Now here's the horrifying, shocking news for everyone. Everyone on this planet, because of the context and the environment, has some level of pathological blood coagulation going on.
everybody.
Everybody,
Oh, wow. Because of toxins, inevitably,
because
in
of
the
the air we
blood.
breathe, the
Mm.
water we drink, the food we eat, the fear that we decide to you know focus on, which
Mm-hmm.
is an
Which they want
acronym that
us to
stands for
focus
false
on, which,
evidence appearing real. Faith, rather than
Mhm.
moving to the opposite of fear. I've asked people,
Yeah.
what is the opposite of fear? The opposite of fear is faith. Faith is an acronym that stands for first attribute in thinking healthy. Without faith, without hope and faith, you will be consumed by fear. And that fear can lead to symptoms whereby that can lead to pathological blood coagulation, leading to clots, leading to crystallization of metabolic waste because you're in that fear. Because every thought, every word, and every deed
Oh,
produces a waste product that, if not properly eliminated through the three kidneys, could kill you. And so 80% of those
that's
who go to
really
the
interesting.
hospital,
Mm-hmm.
80% of those who go to the hospital are going there because of their thoughts.
And this has an actual biochemical kind of equivalent inside the body. There's always a reaction, is what you say.
So you can't have a thought in isolation. And so when somebody says I'm worrying about something,
Uh-huh.
I'm upset about something, it's okay to worry, it's okay to upset. It's not okay to stay in worry and fear and upset, because with every thought you produce a waste product that can kill you. So
Incredible.
your thoughts can kill you,
That
because
is
in order to
amazing.
have a thought there has to be conductivity, and conductivity activates brain cells, and brain cells, as they're being as they're functioning, produce a waste, and if that waste is not eliminated, causes pathological blood coagulation. That's why I'm saying to you that
Oh,
everyone on this planet is in some level of pathological blood coagulation.
wow. Yeah, I think you just explained
So
that. It's extraordinary.
so yeah, so when we look at the number one cause of death in the world,
Mm-hmm.
what causes more death than anything?
Heart
I would say
attacks or
it's our
cancer or
thoughts.
something?
It's
Oh,
heart attack, but that's a symptom.
okay. It's the consequence of the bad thinking, is what you're saying.
Heart attack is a consequence of thinking, overthinking, looping thinking, and that's why I don't refer to it as a heart attack. I refer to it as a thought attack.
But don't you think heart attacks are also caused by people's bad diets and nutrition and exercise
I
habits or
didn't
lack
say. I said the
thereof?
number one. That's another contributing factor. So what is it? Acidic food, acidic water, acidic air, toxic air, whatever word you want to use. Toxic food, toxic, and now we're dealing with something that's more toxic than anything that's ever been exposed to, where the human body's been exposed to, and that's toxic environments of Wi-Fi,
Yeah, I was going to say today that's likely to cause all sorts of
of
health problems.
electromagnetic frequencies that we're living, pulsating frequencies that are more toxic than the food that you eat, the water you drink, or the air you breathe. And so what is happening is people are dying, and what's getting blamed for the pathological blood coagulation is maybe your food, maybe your thoughts, maybe your water, but don't ever blame electrical pulsating microwave radiation at 2.4 gigahertz and up, which is the same frequency that you microwave stuff that boils water and cooks food. Don't blame generation 4 that oscillates at 2.4 gigahertz on your heart attack, because if you do that, that's heresy and you're going to be
Mm.
censored. Now you're attacking big money. When you align with the ideology that Wi-Fi, that smartphones are stupid phones, that smart meters are stupid meters, that smart cars are stupid cars, that you're literally radiating, pulsating, cooking your body parts, and you can't connect it. And the reason you can't connect it is because it's invisible. And so, what a perfect storm. Let's
Mm-hmm.
make up a theory. Let's create a fairy tale. And the fairy tale is, since
Mm-hmm.
this is unseen, and since over the last 20 years we've now documented that there's a material that can act as a
Mm-hmm.
biosensor, so no longer do we have Silicon Valley, we now have Graphene Valley. Chips, the base of those chips, which are microchips, okay, they're moving away from silicon to graphene, and it's happening now
Yeah.
in the nanosense. It's now nanotechnology or nanochips. That's what they've been experimenting for the last 20 years. This whole warp speed to a vaccine is a complete fraud. And the
Because
people
it's built
behind it,
on 20 or more years of research and development.
this was not warp speed. There
Mm-hmm.
was nothing warp speed about it. This was patents that date back all the way back in the early turn of the century,
Mm-hmm.
all the way up till the Brain Initiative that was signed into law by Obama, generating $140 billion to start the Brain Initiative to literally be able to use graphene oxide as a biosensor to connect the human to the Internet of Things.
And also, Robert, we should remember that whenever, anything surfaces in the public domain like this, there's probably 20 to 30 to 40 years of previous research behind it, right? In the military domain, all black ops stuff. So they sort of surface it through the commercial and the academic and the NIH and whatnot through things like the Brain Initiative. But you have to wonder how long the military took to develop this stuff. How many decades?
Well, clear back to the Spanish flu epidemic and the effects of radio waves,
Mm,
and literally blaming that on a virus that didn't even exist, calling it the Spanish flu virus.
that's right. They
Polio is
created a
another fake
mythology.
virus.
Yeah.
It's a mythology. There is no virus, folks. There's no Spanish flu virus. There's no polio virus. There's no measles virus. There's no smallpox virus. There is no Zika virus, Ebola virus, HIV virus. It's all false flags in order to cover up these bad actors and what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So every virus has a poison, and poisoning has been going on for a very, very long time. That's how power got rid of people they didn't like, or to
Going
usurp
back
power, they would just
centuries.
poison.
Mm-hmm.
Going back millenniums,
Oh, probably millennia. Yeah.
going back millenniums, even back to Cain, who
Mm-hmm.
slew Abel with an idea that was whispered to Cain. You can
Mm.
have all of Abel's work. All you have to do is go over there and kill him. And you can take all of his hard work, and that can become yours.
And
It's
that's
called
what's
The Great
going
and
on
Abominable
now.
Secret,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going on today. Yeah, nothing has changed as relates to the protocol. For polio, it was DDT. We'll just
Mm.
poison people. We'll say
Yeah.
we need to spray the schools. We need to spray the children to protect against this
Shocking.
virus. And it was the poison in the spray that was causing paralysis. And it was the same thing with Zika. But with Zika, it's a new poison. The poison that was causing birth defects was called glyphosate. And that's a pesticide or an herbicide that was used and is contained in many of the foods that are being grown around the world. And yes, Monsanto lost a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit where they ruled that glyphosate causes cancer.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's huge, actually.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have the confusion about sexuality.
Oh.
Atrazine is castrating women and men. It's in our foods.
So you're saying there's
You're
a
not you're
chemical
not
that's
you,
doing
you're
this?
not. It's not like, oh, I'm a girl in a boy's body, or I'm a boy in I'm a I have a boy's body. I'm a girl, or I'm a girl, and But I no, that's called chemical poisoning, and it's intentional.
Wow.
And the
So
poison.
this
So
this
every disease has a poison.
and this particular chemical is actually messing with the hormones in people's bodies and making them manifest
It
gender
can literally,
differently or something.
yeah, it messes with testosterone, it messes with
Oh,
estrogen.
okay.
It
Mm-hmm.
literally disrupts the endocrine system of a female or a male, and it castrates them. So no longer do they feel like a man, even though they have a man's anatomy, or a woman
Mm.
with a woman's anatomy.
Wow. So scary.
So how does this deal with pathological blood coagulation? Because very simple, if you don't circulate, you don't percolate. And people don't understand that the activation of the clotting factors happens when there's deterioration of what are called the cover cells or protective cells, or the lining of our blood vessels, arteries and veins. It's a protective lining.
The protection.
And and when
Okay.
that's broken, what is called the basement membrane is exposed. And once that's exposed, that activates factor 7, which then leads to the production of fibrinogen, which then leads to the production of fibrin monomers, which is why all these large clots are being seen, okay, in the bodies of
Mm-hmm.
what? Those who have been poisoned.
Mm.
So, what is the poison? And how is that poison activated? That's Those are two good questions. And so that has been the nature of my work for the last 40 years. Understanding what causes pathological blood coagulation, what are the contributing factors that contribute to that activation that causes premature clots that I'm seeing in every single sample of vaccinated, and to a greater extent, to every single person who is unvaccinated, based upon how they're eating, what they're drinking, what they're breathing, whether they're living, and sleeping with their in Wi-Fi, being affected by the cancer causing cars, disease causing cars that are emulating pulsating frequencies, as if, wow, you know we've got to get rid of this carbon beast that's creating carbon monoxide and polluting our environment, while they're killing us with electric cars, or they're killing us with smart meters, or they're
Yeah.
killing us with smart toasters and smart homes. You have to turn it off, because it causes a smart home will cause an effect within your body that will lead to the cascade of clotting factors, causing the very things that leads to premature death.
But Robert, just to pause you over there for a minute, the reason people don't know about this is because there are many organizations and many media organizations as well that are fraudulently putting out the information that this radiation is not harmful, that it's not been proven harmful, that smart meters are not harmful, 5G is not harmful, cell phones are not harmful, Wi-Fi is not harmful, and that kind of thing. So people are kind of fooled and deceived into thinking that, everything's fine. And people are fooled into also believing that this is the onward march of technology, and we have to simply shut up and accept it, because we don't want to be Luddites, we're living in the past. We want to keep marching into the future. So there's a lot of deception, as you said earlier on, being practiced by these big tech companies and governments as well, who are participating in this deception, right? And so people are being deceived, and people are permitting their lives to be so taken over. How do we address that,
Well, we address it by empowering people with knowledge. That is the
Mm,
cure.
that's very true.
Instilling within them common sense, which has been lost. Not
Yeah.
knowledge, but intelligence. The ability to be able to be intelligent about things is to be able to look at something contextually, not with our nose to whatever we're trying to evaluate, but stepping back and looking at the whole picture. I used to compare it to when I was in London, lived there,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to the London Museum there, where they have various famous, beautiful, you know, uh, contemporary artists of Van Gogh and
Mm-hmm.
Cezanne. And I remember one of the pictures, and I may be corrected on this, but I believe it was a Cezanne, and it's called Water Lilies.
Mm. Are you thinking of Monet?
Monet. Thank you. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Monet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his
so
water
Monet.
lilies
Thank you.
famous.
Thank you for correcting me. Okay,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to be certain about this. Monet, exactly. So I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking of Monet and his painting. I don't know if you've ever seen it in person, but it is
No,
one of
I
it is
haven't.
huge.
The
You
triptych,
know,
right? The big one. Yeah, it was in
it's
Chicago. I remember at a certain
yeah,
point I
it
wanted
it
to go
is
to see
yeah,
it.
it is huge. When I say
Mm.
huge, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but I want to exaggerate. It's like 10 to 15 feet high and
Yeah,
40 feet
I've
long.
seen film of it. Yeah. Mm.
Okay. So, I got up to that painting, because I was interested in the strokes. I was
Mm-hmm.
interested in the detail. And the reason I was looking at it, because I was curious how he painted something that I couldn't see
Yeah.
1 foot, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet back.
Mm.
You can't see water lilies. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay,
I think
because
how
impressionistic, you can't really
so
see
this
it.
was the
You've got to
impressionistic
step way
era.
back. Yeah.
So you have to be 20 feet back
Yeah.
to see the pond, to see the water
Yeah.
lilies. But he didn't paint 30 feet back.
That's very true. Great point. Yeah.
So he had his
Brilliant,
nose to
brilliant
the he had
mind.
his nose to
Yeah.
the canvas,
Mm-hmm.
but that's why that painting is so incredible because I mean it's a mural, excuse me. It's not even a painting, it's a
Yeah.
mural. When you
Yeah.
stand back, you see this incredible work done by Monet, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh one of the impressionists. And I'm going, "Oh my heavens."
Yeah,
Monet
you
has
have to
captured
imagine.
the epitome of intelligence. He has defined the terrain theory, the contextual theory of intelligence to be able to perceive something that cannot be perceived unless you stand back and look at the whole.
Mm. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
And so that's been the nature of my work since day one. I'm a contextual scientist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an impressionist.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a contemporarist. And the
A
reason I say
modernist.
that is because you cannot see the trees unless you perceive the spaces between the trees.
Mm.
All it looks like is a stick of wood
Mm-hmm.
until you step back and see, wait a minute, I'm looking at a forest here. And this is the
Yes.
problem with the viral theory. The viral theory is so deceitful, so diabolical, that unless you stand back and view it contextually, you won't understand a statement when I say there are no viruses. There's just change of matter due to the context or the environment which that matter is found in. So that's where I
Mm-hmm.
came to the point when I was writing Sick and Tired, when I was writing pH Miracle. And I had to define because people said, well, what is a pH miracle?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, well, a pH miracle is understanding, is a knowledge, is an intelligence of the cause and effect relationship, which is not currently understood by medical science. Because I knew that, I would ask people at Harvard, Stanford, Cambridge, Tsinghua, Vienna, et cetera, et cetera. Just to give you an example, I've spoken at every major university in the world,
Oh, wow.
and yet I'm
Amazing.
uneducated. And that's another, but I am educated.
Of course you
But
are.
yes, but that's what my detractors will tell you,
Mm.
that I have no
Yeah.
degrees, my degrees are worthless, that my research is worthless. They say that because they can't attack my science, they have to attack the person. But the bottom line is, I'm not my degrees.
Mm-mm.
What
What?
I am is a man who has a high level of curiosity. And that's what makes me one of the wisest men in the world.
Mm.
And I say that humbly because the knowledge I'm given is God given anyway. That's where truth comes from, not
Mm-hmm.
from men. I mean, they take anything and screw it up. And that's what they're doing with the world right now.
Oh, yeah.
And especially with the viral theory.
Mm-hmm. And
I
remember
mean,
where it came from. Remember where the viral theory comes from. And, unfortunately, it's also sad that it's kind of helped to bring up a whole not in just one generation, but several generations of scientists who believe in that, right? And who are working with those base paradigms. And they're wonderful
yeah,
scientists, a
I
lot of
mean, there's
them.
so much to talk about. If you look at the history of what
Yeah.
actually happened and how we got to the terrible place that we are right now, that we're talking about a non-existent, non-isolated, non-cultured, well, cultured, yes, but
Hmm.
non-isolated, purified particulate
Yeah.
that can make you sick. It doesn't exist. what exists is a polluted environment. And the manifestation of that is what's causing the premature clotting inside the blood vessels when blood should be flowing. So just recently, I wrote an article to try to explain this because I'm seeing this nonsense, and this excitement over, death and clots when we don't even when those who are talking about this don't even understand the basis of matter and how it organizes and disorganizes
Mm-hmm.
based upon a contextual viewpoint, which is the only way I believe you can view this. And the reason I started with, who am I? Why am I here? Where am I going? I mean, if you don't know the answers to those questions, then you're not going to get it right on all the other questions that life brings you.
Mm-hmm.
And to answer why the blood clots, you can't people can't answer that question. But that was what I had to defend for my doctorate in science,
Oh
was
wow.
pathological blood coagulation.
So
And
this is
and
your
I've
specialty.
provided this document for free,
Mm-hmm.
even though our research team had to pay for the publication of that. The costs of publications are not free. The universities pay but when you're tied to a university, then that could be problematic, and you have to declare that. So, uh, so I wrote this article many years ago. I've updated it, but it took me many, many years to get it published, and it was published in two. It was submitted in 215, published in 216. And I'm happy
Excellent.
to not
Mm-hmm.
talk about that specifically, but I want people to know where they can have it because I want the
Sure.
world to have it. And I've got multiple diagrams expressing the contributing factors that then lead to this cascade of clotting factors that leads to the cross-linking, forming these rubbery, fibrous things
Oh
that
wow.
are
So
showing
you're
up.
very familiar with that.
40 years of research about it.
Yeah, because that's something that's in the news currently, and everyone's sort of gasping in shock at looking at these rubbery fibrous clots. And it
No,
sounds like
no,
you.
you can pretty much pull those out of anybody to a lesser or greater degree. But what I wanted
Really?
to show you is the origin of where this is beginning. It's beginning in the interstitial fluids of the interstitium, which is a
Mhm.
science that's not even taught at medical school.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. That's part of
So,
what you
as
have
far as
uncovered and have revealed to the world, right? It's
and,
part of what
and
Professor
because
Neil
because of the
Solomon
good
taught.
people that I work with
Mm-hmm.
and their intelligence, not knowledge, but their intelligence and understanding the contextual viewpoint, we've been able to, in 215 and then in 216, publish the biochemistry of the largest organ of the human body, which is the interstitial fluids contained in the largest organ, which is called the interstitium, that I learned in my youth. When I say youth, in my 30s in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
studying under protege of Gunther Enderlin, Dr.
Right.
Marie
Mm-hmm.
Blucker, who taught me optical
Mm-hmm.
microscopy, who taught me electron microscopy, who taught me that matter can alter its form and its function based upon the environment. I didn't learn until 1996 when
Mm-hmm.
someone says, you have similar views and theories like Antoine Béchamp. And it was then in 1996 that I learned about Béchamp, even though in 1994 I discovered and documented biological transformation, that germs were born, and literally documented in videotaping it. And of course, these videotapes are available. Shocking, not the world, but shocking, academia, who said, I've never seen biological transformation. We didn't study it. We didn't talk about it because this whole monomorphic idea that there's one germ like a cat, there's a cat and a dog, and a cat will never be a dog, and a dog will never be a cat. So there's germs, and a HIV will never be corona. And yet, when you look at the cartoons and the pictures they draw about corona and HIV and exosome, they're all the same, taken from the same hallucination,
Wow.
the same
That's
hallucination of
funny.
these
Yeah.
scientists. They have to make this shit up because they
You don't
think
have to.
they think that 99% of the population will never check it. And if they do
Mhm.
check it, they now have fact checkers that are just as stupid as they are.
They're fact checkers, not fact checkers. They don't check facts. They check for pharma narrative and, scientism, as Dr. Judy Mikovits says. They check
Yeah,
for
well, I call
the
it political science.
political
Yeah, the
science.
viral theory is definitely based on scientism, and Judy does agree with me that it's not an infectious, but an infectious condition that's brought on by the introduction of a concoction that they've
Toxins.
developed in the lab, and that's
Yeah,
why they're able to patent it. Because if it was in nature, they
they
couldn't
couldn't ban.
patent it.
Yeah.
But since it's not in nature, they can patent. How can you patent the coronavirus? How can you patent the treatments? Because it doesn't exist in nature,
How are they
and if
getting
it
away with
existed,
this massive hoax? That's the big question. How are
so
people letting them get away with this? Because they're
yeah,
patenting
how are
diseases
they
all
getting
the
away with it?
time.
They're getting away with it because my people perish because of ignorance. That's the leading cause of
Mm.
disease in the world today is stupidity.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, so there's ignorance, and and there are people that know that this is not correct science, and that's called a sin of commission. They know it's wrong. They know they haven't isolated these things. They have to admit to it, and that's why Christina has letters upon letters upon letters of no, we don't have any isolation, purification, isolated viruses for any virus, Ebola to Zika to HIV to Corona to monkeypox. In fact, the U.S. government stopped funding HIV research. I think it
Hmm.
was 1999, and the article that came out was, monkey business, because all the research could not validate the efficacy that HIV causes acquired immune deficiency.
How
That's why they
very
call it a
interesting.
sin. Yeah. So they stopped. They don't even fund HIV
They
to the
don't.
level. Now they're fund all the money's going to Corona and going
Yeah.
to development of to money's going to research for big pharma to create drugs that will contain materials that are leading to the symptomologies that have accelerated this pathological blood coagulation that's injuring the cover cells, that's exposing the basement membrane, that's then leading to a cascade of clotting factors, that's creating proteins that are cross linking. And I've been studying this, as I said, for 40 years, and I have pictures of what happens. And that's what I wanted to show. And it is, you don't learn this stuff overnight. I mean, you have to look at it for a very, very long time. You have to know what you're talking about. And
Yes,
I
I think remember.
honestly don't know of anybody that knows what they're talking about. I'd like to see them explain some of their pictures, but they can't explain it because they don't understand the cascade factors that are associated in pathological blood coagulation and what are the contributing factors based upon a contextual environmental approach and not some specific virus or germ that's causing this. Because what we're talking about is a multiplicity of mRNA or DNA, which is multiple modified genetic materials, driving a capsid of poison of 99% graphene oxide to specific areas of the body that's causing injury to the female reproductive organs, to the male reproductive organs, that's castrating women and men, that's reducing a man's ability to produce sperm, literally sterilizing women. And if they're pregnant, then that's going that will. I mean,
It
it's a death
impacts the
knell.
fetus as
The
well. Yes.
inoculation, you vax that while you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one of the lottery holders. When I say the lottery holders, because the first vaccination was 1 in 200, so you had a 1 in 200 chance of getting the poison that would take your baby. The second one was 1 in 4, and all the boosters, they're saying, to hell with this, we're just going to give them the full dose. And so the boosters are, we got them on the first one, we got them the second. We're going to close the deal out on the boosters. And
It's
that didn't
really
work. So we're
shocking.
going to come up with
Mhm.
some monkey business. And now we're going to call it monkey shit or monkey pox or whatever crazy thing they come up with.
And
And
they've now approved it for babies and toddlers and kids younger than 6 years old.
if you love
What
your
are they doing?
children, giving them this inoculation will love them to death.
Yeah.
And if you want to be in deep sorrow and hurt, because I know for a woman to lose her offspring, her baby, that's a dagger in her heart. But these bad actors, they just laugh over this shit.
And they don't publish the
That's how
information
cold and
either.
callous they are.
Yeah.
21-0. What is the background of these people? Are they all idiots?
They're evil.
How can
You
you
know,
poison someone? This is such a warped ideology that you can take a toxin or disease or some pus or some manipulation of human or animal genetic matter and mix that with or pass it through filtrations and then tie it to a polyethylene glycol capsid filled with other poisons and deliver that into the human body. Well, anybody with a brain would say, well, if you end up with a snake bite or a spider bite and that poison goes into you,
hmm
you're going to create a immune response. So all the research that's that's done showing if it's creating a reaction, of course it does. You just poisoned yourself. That's just the proof that you poisoned yourself, and what you just did is harmful. You didn't provide any immunity because immunity is not provided by any so-called fairy tale antibodies. True immunity comes by managing and maintaining the alkaline design of the internal fluids of the body by what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, how you live, where you live, how you live, and giving up evil, giving up perversions, perverted lives, perverted choices, because right now you have a choice to do that.
hmm
But in Shanghai, a
mm
lot of those freedoms have been taken away from them.
I know, it's shocking what's going on.
So if
Dr.
we
Young?
look at some of the pictures, okay,
Yeah.
of the vaccinated and the non-vaccinated.
hmm
Okay, and I shared the screen with you.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Let's
Just
see.
share
Let's
it.
see if I can find what I need to show you.
hmm
I don't know if this is it or not, or is that just a duplication of what I wanted to show? Let's see if I can.
I see your
Uh,
screen.
Not this one. I don't want this one. Uh, Hold on here. You see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see this?
Email marketing. Oh, okay. Now I see your article.
Yeah, so the article's called Nano. That's 1 billionth of a meter. To micron or micro is 1 millionth of a meter. Uh, Blood clots seen in the capillary blood of vaccinated and non-vaccinated.
hmm
And I really want to thank all of you, your love and support, because my journey has not been easy for the last decade. I've been under severe attack,
hmm
and I don't want to go into detail because you
Yeah,
can read
sadly.
or watch about it. And, we've talked about it before, but I
hmm
wanted to give you some examples of what causes pathological blood coagulation, what is leading up to these horrifying clots that are being shown by others with really no explanation other than putting fear into your soul. But I want you to know I've been observing this stuff for the last 40 years. But in the last 2 months, I've been concentrating, looking at not just the non-vaccinated, because a lot of things are happening in the vaccinated and non-vaccinated. They're having some of the similar symptomologies. And some of that is being aerosoled, some of it's being swabbed, some of it is put into our food, some of it is now in our water. So, and on top of that, they're now adding this to all vaccines. When I say they're adding what, I'm saying they're adding, this material, which is called graphene, and different forms of graphene, from graphene
Mm,
oxide to reduced graphene. And this is the material of choice because it's light, it's one atom in thickness, it's flexible, it has a construct that it can take on, and you can add other elements, such as you can add aluminum, you can add titanium, you can add silicon, you can add gold, you can add various elements depending on. In this case, when I was doing my breakthrough research on graphene oxide and some of the other elements that were found in the Pfizer, Moderna, uh, the AstraZeneca, Johnson and Johnson, was a multi-complex. They're called multi layered carbon threads, carbon tubes that have
mhm.
attached to them iron, copper, aluminum, other elements. And I'll show you kind of a picture of this just to give you an idea what that looks like. But to start
Yeah,
off
sure.
with, which rarely is seen
Mhm,
unless you're literally conscious of this, of how to create this kind of blood. And this is, of course, using bright field and phase contrast optical microscopy. And what it is what should healthy blood that is not in some sort of hypercoagulation, how should
mhm,
red blood cells look? And red blood cells should be even in color, even in shape, and even in size. And they have a natural charge on the surface. That natural
mhm,
charge is negative, so they repel each other electromagnetic, because when that surface charge flips, okay, this is when they start sticking together. But this is, if you'll notice these cells, you can see that they're even in color, even in shape, and even in size, and they're living in their own fluid. And this fluid is vascular fluid, it's alkaline fluid at a pH of 7.365. And this is the
mhm.
way blood should look. I will pay, and I don't have the money, so I'm saying this. I could pay. I offered $1 million, and then I offered $5 million for the proof of a purified isolation of HIV. And the reason I did that, no one's ever claimed the money because no one can prove it. And the reason I did that, because my dear nephew's life was taken by a poison that was
Oh,
introduced
I'm
by
so
Fauci
sorry.
himself for HIV. Okay, here
The
again, that's the
azathioprine or
name of it, doesn't it?
atropine.
It's AZT,
Easy tea, yeah.
AZT. But you cannot have this blood if you're living a perverted life. And when I say perverted, with what you eat, what you drink, what you
Mhm,
breathe, what you feel,
yeah.
how you act, how you react, your thinking process, what you feel and what you believe, what type of environment that you're living in.
Mhm,
This doesn't exist. I would pay $100,000 to anyone that could show me their blood looks like this. I'm not going to have any. I can. This is a sure bet,
hmm,
and I'm not a betting man, but I know it doesn't exist because in order to get that kind of blood, with exception, those who are following an alkaline, plant-based, electron-rich, high chlorophyll content lifestyle and diet with a urine pH of 8.4 and higher, which is a representation of the interstitial fluids, those people are starting to achieve this kind of blood. But you can't achieve this blood if you're eating eggs, chicken, pork, fish, if you're eating beans and rice. It doesn't work. You cannot build healthy blood with these types of foods. So the question then comes up is, what does unhealthy blood look like that's full of graphene or iron attached to that graphene tube or that thread? Aluminum, parasites which have been added to the concoction, which we released, which we disclosed last year. I don't know if it was in March or July or when it was, but we disclosed the discovery of eggs and parasites in these vaccines, which needed to be kept at a very low temperature, because at body temperature they start hatching. And these are Trypanosoma cruzi parasites.
Yeah.
So that was in the initial seminal work of the non-disclosed ingredients, of which we had a discussion on, and you actually wrote a paper. I wrote a paper on this, and that paper has been approved to be published in the International Journal of Vaccines and Vaccinations.
Oh, brilliant!
I just have to raise through donations an additional $1,500, coupled with a little money that I have, in order to pay for the publishing of this. There's some publishing fees, and not being associated right now with a university who would pick these up, those fees have to be paid. So anyway, this has been approved for publication.
Congratulations, that's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So have you got the idea now? These round discs are red blood cells. They're called erythrocytes, that they're even in color, even in size. What that means when they're even in color, because when you study blood traditionally, they'll say that, the size of the red blood cell normally is 7.5 microns. At the edge, it's like 2.3 to 2.5 microns, and it drops down going concave to about 1.5. So you get a reflection. Well, this reflection is an indication of dehydration and the absence of hemoglobin. That's not normal. But in traditional hematology, conventional hematology, they think it's normal. This is healthy normal. Okay? So here is a large symplast of a magnetic material. It's nano when it's originally, but it aggregates. So this is a nano gone to a micro clot of graphene via self-assembly because of its magnetism. Graphene observed under live, unchanged, unstained capillary blood. So what I did, or what I've done in the past, or what I can do in the future, people are doing this for themselves. They're taking a drop of blood, using a finger prick, capillary blood from the finger, from the nose. I use it from animals, from the nose to the toe. They put it on a slide, they cover it with a cover slip, and then they seal it off. And they seal it off so the oxygen doesn't seep underneath the slide and cause damage. But this is a picture of graphene oxide, which has been delivered either by aerosol, this is a vaccinated person, and in this case, through the inoculation, because these formations, these large, I call them bombs of graphene, should not be there. Now, the reason why we know it's graphene, because we've done spectroscopy on this, and we've been able to determine the graphene signature based upon that energy dispersive spectroscopy. So we did this is part of it. So when you're looking at the methodology, not just bright field, phase contrast, and dark field, scanning and transmission electron microscopy, but also spectroscopy. And I think I mentioned that
Yeah.
going down further. I mentioned the
Mhm.
fact that here we have coming up. Does this look normal? Wait a minute.
No, it
This
looks
is
scary.
normal.
Yeah.
This is now the new normal.
So
This
this
is
is
what I'm
stuff you've
seeing.
actually seen. You've seen this, and this is actually what you're showing over here is actually somebody's blood.
That's correct. This is capillary blood coming from a human being
Hmm.
that's been magnified. Okay. Here it is, targeted. And what we're seeing is targeted red blood cells. These are depressed, dehydrated, hemoglobin deficient, a large symplast of metallic, you know, graphene oxide surrounded by blood clots. See the
Oh
blood
my God.
clotting? It's clotting together. Look at the irregular shapes. Look at this red blood cell here to the right.
Hmm.
You see its unusual shape?
Yeah, it's strange looking. It's
Yeah.
not round.
This is now the new normal. This is why
Mm.
people are going crazy. They're going crazy because now we have the drugs from Big
Hmm.
Pharma, we have the vaccinations from Big Pharma, we have even the nutraceuticals from Big Pharma owned nutraceutical companies that are
Hmm.
delivering poisons through oral means or through IVs or through injections. So, number three, ferric oxide with lactic and sulfuric acid crystals observed in live capillary blood from a vaccinated male using bright field phase contrast microscopy and confirmed by ultraviolet absorption, fluorescent spectroscopy, scanning electron microscopy, transmission electron microscopy, energy dispersive spectroscopy, X ray diffractometer, and nuclear magnetic resonance. So anatomically, what we're seeing graphene with the lactic,
That's it. Hmm.
with the iron. So what we have is graphene that has attached to its construct uh,
Hmm.
ferric oxide, sulfuric acids, which is a result of cellular breakdown of let's say mesoderms, which are muscle cells, releasing their waste products, sulfuric, uric, nitric. This is why people who don't eat meat still can have gout because as muscle tissues breaking down because they're not taking care of the internal environment of the body
Oh
fluids,
wow.
tissue breaks down and you end up with these crystals. But this is, you see the stacking of the red blood cells, you see the corona cells, you
Hmm.
see the crowns on the cells. This is a indication the spiking starting off this cell at the bottom. And then you
Hmm.
see the graphene and the magnetic material that's actually causing cells to flip their polarity, going from negative on the outside to negative on the inside, positive on the outside, and that's what's causing these blood clots.
Hmm.
So
Wow, it's like a
this is a
tornado or
horrific pitch. What's that?
tsunami. It's like a tornado or tsunami or suddenly has something with graphene in it has suddenly moved in on the blood and it's
So
creating.
here's another thing that's important because size does matter.
Mm.
When cells to get to the lungs or through the pulmonary system and get into the alveoli to drop its carbon
Hmm.
monoxide or its lactic acid, whatever it's trying to drop and pick up
Yeah.
oxygen, it can't go in because the openings into the capillary pools are so small. They're like 2.5 to 3 microns, and a micron is 125 thousandths of an inch. So it's very, very small. A red blood cell is 7.5, so it has to be flexible to be able to bend in to go into these capillary pools. And when they're all clotted together like this, there's no way they can get in. So this is
Oh
what leads
wow.
to the symptomology, which has no known pathology. I'll explain it now. The reason why we have cold hands, cold feet, lightheadedness, dizziness, muddle thinking, forgetfulness, this is all due to pathological blood coagulation, due to the reverse polarity of the cells caused by a contributing factor, which can be acids from food, acids from metabolisms, acid from the air you breathe, from chemical toxins or poisons, from the drugs, the inoculations. And here again, it's just there is a stacking effect that then leads to all these phenomenons that are not explained by your doctors because they don't get it either. They have not been educated in the intelligence, or the intelligence has not been given to them to be able to handle this. So here we have on the fourth one a large symplast of nano graphene oxide particulates that have organized themselves together in a live unchanged, unstained capillary blood. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is a very large organization of a vaccinated female with metastatic lung and brain cancer patient. This sample of blood was provided to me from Canada,
Mm-hmm.
from another place, and to be able to then view this, after surgery, after chemotherapy, after surgery, and to find all these nano and microparticulates in the blood are quite disturbing. Quite
Yeah.
disturbing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see this, and all these little specks. This is all.
Mm-hmm.
This is all. These are all nanoparticulates. They're all around here, and you see these little round. This is how big this thing is, and I'll show
Oh,
you
wow.
here in a better picture. I'm not going to disclose what those are right now. I'll disclose what they are later. I just
Mm-hmm.
want to talk about this as we go forward. Here's another large symplast. I call these of a vaccinated female of graphene. I call them graphene atomic bombs.
Yeah. Looks super
And this
scary.
this is yeah, this should not be in the blood at all.
And
Here's
this is
another
the kind
one.
of thing that people who are vaccinated are showing in their blood. And you said to me that you had actually thousands of micrographs currently. You've actually looked at huge numbers of blood samples from people who are vaccinated.
Thousands of them. Yes, I'm so concerned
Mm.
about this. In fact, this is when we actually had a discussion about this early, where I actually exposed
Yes.
some of the tubular graphene rods that were causing the pathological blood coagulation and some of the
Mhm.
atomic bombs of graphene here in vaccinated. And these down at the bottom, those are exploding red blood cells where the hemoglobin, which is on the front line of taking up these poisonous waste products, literally
Mhm.
become engulfed in that and crystallize. And these are crystallized red blood cells, which are known in hematology as Heinz bodies. And they're just oversized red blood cells. Look at the relationship of the blood up here, and I don't know if you can see it or not. Can you
I
see
can.
the
Yeah.
red blood cell in the right hand corner?
Yeah. Hmm.
And see these large
That's.
masses? Those used to be that size. But what red blood cells do is they take up poisons like carbon monoxide, like lactic acid, like graphene oxide, and these become crystallized. They're called Heinz bodies or black red blood cells because they are on the front line, not the white blood cells. That's way down the
Mhm.
line.
Yeah.
You have 5 million red blood cells to one white blood cell. And this is why when in cancer treatments, when chemotherapy is given,
Hmm.
what happens? A decrease in the red blood count, a decrease in hemoglobin, a decrease in in the size, the concentration, and the health of the red blood cells. So what we see then, when someone's being poisoned, we see the red blood cells taking it up because hemoglobin acts as an electrical magnetic sink that pulls acidic waste, carbon monoxide, graphene, lactic acid, whatever the poison is, and they sacrifice their life to save your life because you don't have the understanding or even the education, even up to the highest advanced grades, to understand that red blood cells is the primary immune cell. Red blood cells, not
Mm.
white blood cells. Red blood cells. So when you combine that with radiation, and once you have graphene in the body, there is a quantum link between the 4G all the way down, not only just from megahertz to
Mm-hmm.
gigahertz to terahertz, these pulsating frequencies coming off the true virus, which is sitting on this pole, is emitting a pulsating frequency, 4G at 2.4, 5G at 8.4 or above, and at 60 gigahertz, if you have graphene in your body, within 3 or 4 minutes, you're dead. So the
And
same people that developed the software, the hardware and the software, you know, and then developed the software for viral prevention are the same people that created the viruses, are now out of technology, have gone over to the medical field to create the same theory of a so-called man-made virus with man-made antiviral programs, and all you have to do is disconnect the Wi-Fi, is shut down the pulsating frequency, and run to the hills if you're having these symptoms, because after the inoculation, after you've been aerosoled, after you've been chemtrailed, after you've been, taken that graphene pill, or that nutrient or supplement, once you have these magnetic particles in your body, they connect to these pulsating frequencies, amplify this, and not only does it hurt you, but others who are around you. You are now a cell tower. You are now emitting out the same radiation, the same pulsating frequencies compounded by whatever's coming in. And this is what they've set up around the world. And when they initiated this, they initiated it in Wuhan, not from, some biolab, but they
yeah.
literally flipped on the 5G switch and people
Mm-hmm.
started dropping dead.
Shocking. Mm-hmm.
So then we see graphene oxide in the center of what appears as a vulgaris parasite at 15 times magnification observed in life. I mean, here again, what is this entity? It looks like a parasite, but here again, these
It could be
materials
those
are,
carbon nano octopus
yeah,
thing, right?
exactly,
That we've
exactly.
seen.
Number 7, we see the dots, the threads, the bubbles. We see the threads. These are nano graphene threads. We see the graphene dots. Uh,
And other
and here
researchers
we
have
see
looked
the
at.
Rubens. Here you see all of them. The
Mhm.
Rubens, the ribbons, the threads, the dots. You see the fibrous material, the proteins that come from pathological organization of various proteins that assemble themselves. There are various factors that, as I meant, fibrinogen to fibrin. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But here you can see some of the organizations that these take. You see, and
Just a random.
I'm seeing this in vaccinated and unvaccinated people.
And this
This
is
one
also.
happens to be a vaccinated female. This was a
Oh,
vaccinated female. This one here, which is very important, this one here is a vaccinated female. And these little clots here, these are microclots. These are all red blood cells. These are
oh
microclots.
wow.
So you can see how large these threads can get as they organize themselves.
Yeah, and I just wanted to interject one comment, and that is, the fibers that you're showing, the threads, all of the nanotech that you're showing in these different forms is also what is visible in the slides of the vaccines from the vials that I think you have shown before, that Dr. Carrie Madej has published, and that she recently sent me new slides that look exactly like this. I need to publish them shortly. But she's also been looking at the vaccine under microscopes, not the blood recently, at
Yeah,
least not the ones
this
that
is
she showed me.
capillary blood. It's important because this whole circle comes around when you understand that the very thing that we identified in the vials are now in the blood of people who have been vaccinated, and now in the non-vaccinated through aerosol, through swabs, through pills and potions that are being delivered even in the masks, the
Mm-hmm.
fibers within the masks.
Yeah, that's
Here's
right.
a
The
here's a
fibers are
large
in the
here's a
mask.
large nanographene oxide tubular blood clot right here.
I wish doctors in ER rooms and doctors who are still administering this vaccine could see this video and could see your slides and recognize what they're really doing. They are permitting this to happen inside the blood and the bodies of the people whom they are
Yeah, these
vaccinating.
are all the different for. Here's a very large fibrous material. The very thing they're pulling out in macro, this is micro and nano. So I'm just all you're
Mhm.
seeing is something in a bag that is coming from the accumulation of this. In larger ways, the clots get bigger and bigger and bigger. So here is something that is unique to my science. In fact, uh, I have been suggested to be nominated for a Nobel Prize for this work. Now
Hmm.
you wouldn't know that, but one Nobel laureate said that to me. Uh, I won't mention his names. You know him. His first name is Luke. Another one
Mhm.
was head of research, John Hopkins University, Neil Solomon. In fact, we
Mhm.
worked at the United Nations together to start educating nations about these problems and help them to start changing their lifestyles and diets to reduce a lot of the health challenges that a lot of these from India to Africa, from all the
Mhm.
places that we travel to try to educate, and when
Yeah.
you actually see then this is an actual blood clot, and you see these black lines here. Look at
Yeah.
this. Look at this. So these black lines are the fibrin monomers that have cross-linked, and all the red are the red blood cells that have formed in around this clot. So this is a natural process. If this didn't happen, when you cut yourself, you would bleed to death. So when you're looking under a microscope at the actual clots, you can then see not only the fibrin monomers and the cross-linking of those, and the red blood cells, which is the red color. This is not colorized. This is not a cartoon. This is a real drop of coagulated blood from a capillary.
Mm. Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah.
In there is a graphene thread. There it is, right here. It's like a hook.
That is crazy.
Okay. And around it are some small, what are called polymerized proteins, and I'll show them in a larger size here. These
Mhm.
polymerized proteins are like whitewashed proteins that have aggregated from breakdowns of organs and tissues and glands. And based on their molecular weight, and this is where the Nobel research comes in, is that I've
Mhm.
been able to identify, weigh these things, and actually then tie them to specific organs, specific glands, and specific tissues in specific areas of the body. So when I see a small protein like this, I know exactly where that protein came from because it's not supposed to be there. And I'll show you larger ones as we go into this. For example, what does a normal blood clot look like? So I showed you initially what normal red blood cells look like. This is
Right.
my blood.
Mhm.
Okay, I use myself as a sample.
Wow.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, you should be able to say, well, are you a product of what you teach? And the
That's
answer is
right.
yes.
Yeah.
So what do we have? We have vascular. These spaces is all in vascular fluid. So you have vascular fluid, okay, and then
Mhm.
you have red blood
Yeah.
cells. When they clot together, they form this beautiful clot that's interconnected by fiber monomers, which have cross-linked to hold these red blood cells into a normal clot. Okay, so here's the normal clot. This is abnormal clot. So let's go back here. Excuse me 1 minute. So if someone is in pathological blood coagulation, and the clot looks
Mm-hmm.
like this, and we see this dark center, and we see these white proteins in the center of the clot, because the clot is round. Okay, when it clots, you see how it
Mm-hmm.
takes a round? And each clot
Yeah.
represents a ring or a field within the body. So this is an example of proteins from a degeneration of the small and large intestine, and the black is actual toxins that have accumulated over years of eating animal proteins. Okay, and this
Mm-hmm.
shows a congestion and a precursor for colon cancer. This is normal. This is colon cancer. This
Oh
right
my God.
here with the hole in the center, that's prostate cancer. And this right here with the large protein pools where you've got missing red blood cell conglomerate, that's lung cancer. And you can see this progressing before even the diagnosis, 8 years before your diagnosis. And so then when you're looking at red blood cells like this, and you look at this, it's a condition called rouleau, a French word which means chain.
Mm-hmm.
And over here, you see the spiking proteins coming out and the cell deterioration of the cell membrane. Here's what streptococcus looks like. And this is born right out of the red blood cell. You see this rod bacteria? It's coming
Right.
right out of the red blood cell. And you see the spiking here? Those are spike proteins, not by infection, but by outfection. And here's that
Mm-hmm.
targeted red blood cell with no hemoglobin. You're looking you're looking right through the red blood cell. Where did the hemoglobin go? It went to neutralize or buffer the acids from your life, your
Oh wow.
thoughts, your words, your deeds, that chicken sandwich, that egg you just ate,
Oh,
that
interesting.
worry, that fear that you're in. These are
Mm-hmm.
all expressions of your life. And so when I look at this, I'm literally looking at, you don't have to tell me what you're eating or drinking. I can look at your blood, and in one drop, I can tell exactly what's going on. And it's
Oh wow.
generational.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to see that because uh, when I wrote
It's quite amazing.
my when I wrote my thesis,
Mm-hmm.
not my, and I published this, it's called pathological blood coagulation and the mycotoxic oxidative stress test, the MOST test.
Mm-hmm.
This was this was here again, as we see here, we see the historical aspects of this, but it's multi pages, and I didn't put all the pages on. But here
Mm-hmm.
are the key ingredients: pathological blood. It shows healthy, unhealthy blood coagulation. And this can all be picked up. Here's the before and after for sensitivities, allergies. And I've graphed this whole thing out from the beginning to the end. And I guess I've actually got the whole article up here. You can click on it. This is
Yes, we have to
hypercalcemia.
post
Yeah,
the
this is
link.
yeah, and each one describes what is going on. This is an HIV/AIDS. It's not HIV cause, but it's immune deficiency, and
Mm-hmm.
it goes on and describes a lot of this with references. And I'm missing, not all of the charts are here. I think we published as much as we could, but if you want, here's one of table 13. Typical sources of oxidation. Oxidation is the insult of mycotoxic acids in
Mm-hmm.
biological systems, initiating tissue breakdown and pathological blood coagulation. Is called DIC. And the polymerization, which is when cells are breaking down, they release their proteins. Those proteins
Mm-hmm.
polymerize, and that's what we're looking at here. When we're looking at polymerized proteins coming from the bowels, or coming, here, this is in the center, but coming from the bowels, this is protein coming from the core of the body, which is unhealthy. This is what it should look like. This is someone doing cancer. You don't get
Wow.
cancer, you do cancer with what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe. And so when you look at the assaults or the contributing factors, what are the
Mm-hmm.
contributing factors? What did I list here? We'll go back up here. What? brewer's yeast, mushrooms, corn, peanuts, cashews, animal flesh, stored grains, high sugar fruits, honey, maple syrup, corn syrup, artificial sweeteners, milk,
Oh, wow.
cheese, yogurt, eggs, potatoes, bread, alcohol, smoking, drugs,
It's a lot
over
of stuff.
exercise, lack of rest, chemicals, radiation, antibiotics, fear, anger, hatred, jealousy, revenge, lack of sunlight, poor sanitation. Now we've
Wow.
got another one. I should have put, I mean, it's already in there, but we're talking about it. And that's the injections, the
Oh,
inoculations
right.
that contain
The
these
graphene.
poisons that then cause in combination with radiation. So when I got chemicals in here, I'm talking about all chemicals, you know, that are
Yeah.
related to the things we've been talking about, specifically ferric oxide, graphene oxide, aluminum oxide, uh, you know, titanium dioxide, trioxides, et cetera, et cetera. So
Hmm.
this explains all of the pathways that leads to what? Neutrophil activity, oxidative burst, the release of oxygen and carbon free radicals. Free radicals are released by the white blood cells in the form of reduced oxygen, reduced hydrogen to deal with what? The acids that are being created, the waste that are being created because of the basement membrane being exposed and the activation of the clotting factors to prevent internal bleeding and death. And that's why people, when they're exposed then to the graphene, it's now in their body, and then they end up with being hit with a pulsating frequency at 8.4 gigahertz and up. They start feeling sick. They feel like something's happening. They feel lightheaded, dizzy, or they can't breathe, and they just fall over dead.
Mm.
So the same guys that created the viral program for computers are the same people that have developed the viral program for humans. And just as they can create a program, that will make computers work slower or not as energetic or as fast, this is what they call the web, right? And I was looking today at a spider web and I'm thinking,
Hmm.
look at that spider web. That is a website. And guess what the website contains? A spider. And what does the spider contain if it bites you? Poison. And if that black widow bites you, that poison can kill you. That is a metaphor for what's happening today in technology. I
Yeah.
don't know if you got that or not, but I wanted to share that with you so that you had that information.
Yes, absolutely. I think I need to sit down and read that paper thoroughly. It looks a little technical, but worth
Well,
reading.
there's a lot to it. It is a
Hmm.
technical research paper. It is a product of my research. It is a product of my dissertation. Is it a product of what I said first in this article here? Is the question? I think it's right here. Is blood clotting is a highly detailed chemical mechanism involving many distinct components. The problem for the hematologist has been to understand it at the biochemical level. Undoubtedly, efforts to fully understand blood clotting will continue for many, many years. And so, I lay out the history with this question: why? Look at the question. Why does
Hmm.
the blood circulating in the blood vessels not coagulate? Okay,
Great
and
question.
then and then why does it coagulate? There has to be some contributing factor that leads to that pathological blood coagulation. And
Right, right.
so that's
Quite extraordinary. I think it's a very detailed and sort of, engrossing subject. It kind of needs some time to look through and understand. But certainly it's in the news right now, and I think people understand that what's in the vaccine is making these blood clots happen. Initially, as you know, people thought it was just Johnson and Johnson, but it's all of the vaccines, it sounds
it's
like.
all of them. It's literally all of them. In fact,
Yeah.
I've laid this out. We need to stop this new health plan that's being initiated because it's not a health plan. It is 5G radiation poisoning combined with graphene poisoning of the blood, which leads to pathological blood coagulation, injury, and death. That is the formulation of what's happening. And the symptomologies of that is loss of taste, uh, you know, difficult breathing, dry cough, because you're not getting enough oxygen, you're not removing toxic acidic waste like carbon dioxide. So these are the things you have to look at.
So do you
And
think the
and so I
people
have.
who do you think the people who
Go
came
ahead.
up with this brilliant do you think the people who came up with this brilliant plan of putting graphene on people's bodies, nano graphene, nanotechnology through the aerosols and the vaccines, and then linking people up to the Wi-Fi, do you think these people were aware that there would be a lot of casualties as we are seeing people dying after the vaccine? Do they just not care, do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean you just have to take them for their word, and the father of a lot of this is Henry Kissinger,
Hmm.
promoting the fact of, look, these people, we sell them our drugs. This is a win-win situation. The doctors win because they get money from selling drugs. The pharmaceutical companies win because they get money selling their drugs to the doctors, who
Yeah.
then who then reduce what he said was the overpopulation of useless eaters. So the plan
Yeah.
was eugenic in nature. The plan was to reduce the surplus population, first to control the population, then to reduce the population, and by extracting using the great and abominable secret, which is you can kill to get gain, and in his own words, is you win, the doctors, the pharmaceuticals win, and the country wins, or the world wins, the new world order wins, because we've just reduced the surplus population of useless eaters. This is a win-win situation. Now let's go have lunch. Close quote.
So they really don't care. So there are people who seriously don't care and who are completely eugenicist in their intentions and don't care that the vaccine's killing people and damaging people.
Not only don't they care, they know exactly what they're doing.
They know what they're doing because they intended it all along. Yeah.
Yeah.
They developed,
Yeah, and that's
manufactured.
that's that's basically the summation of it. This is not to provide any immunity. This is not against any virus because the virus doesn't exist. This is not to
Mhm.
provide an environment that's conducive for health and energy and vitality. No, it's doing completely the opposite. This is a program to reduce the surplus to control the population, transfer wealth to the, you know, these
Super
bad
wealthy
actors,
already. Yeah.
the super wealthy, and they've made. I mean, we're talking about a 1.23 trillion dollar industry, and that's probably half
Yeah.
of what it really is.
Hmm. And it got that way because, it applies no ethics whatsoever, no morality, no sense of right and wrong, just a lot of greed, focus on profit and desire to push ahead their own agenda, their New World Order agenda of control, totalitarianism, tyranny, and complete suppression of the human spirit, it looks like. So
Well, it's
I
it's
think,
one thing to look at these pictures and conjecture about them. It's another one to look at these people pictures and understand. Being a clinical naturopathic practitioner and a scientist, I humbly state that I am the expert in the world on this subject, period.
well, I think you've certainly proved your chops, so to speak, because you've spent 40 years working at it and, examining things under microscopes and whatnot of different kinds and writing about it for years and years and years.
Well, that's why they're trying to put me down.
Hmm.
They've tried character assassination, and there's nothing that hold these guys back. You know, they can't claim that I'm insane or that I would commit suicide. No, any act against my physicality will be caused by them directly by name, and I have named them in my articles.
That's
Their
good.
actions are horrific. Their actions are not only can be understood, but can be seen through their deceit. And as a blood descendant of Ephraim, who was the son of Joseph, who was thrown in a well and left for dead, was rescued and became the Pharaoh of Egypt, that when his own brothers turned against him, as I have experienced, my own friends, those who had worked close to me, those who I'd helped and served, have turned against me.
Oh, so sorry to hear that. There's so much betrayal going around, especially from friends and family.
All I can say is, do I have anger towards them? No. All I have is sympathy. And as Joseph, who was sold into Egypt, becoming the Pharaoh of Egypt, when his own brothers, during what happened was a period of time, a 7 year of famine, and this is upon us. Listen to me carefully. A famine is being orchestrated now.
Yeah.
Is being orchestrated now. And those who know this, even the prophets of old who have told us to prepare, even the prophets of new that have told us to prepare for this, that what we need to do is become farmers, to store seeds, to store water, to store all things that are necessary. That even when our enemies come to us, who were our friends, and kneel at our feet and ask for help, that even those who have betrayed us, we can have mercy and show love, because that is the only thing that's going to solve what's going on,
Yeah.
is mercy
Oh.
and love. To love
Mm-hmm.
God with all of our heart, might, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourself.
Mm.
And we return to those two commandments and the 10 commandments: thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not have idols before me, thou shalt not, commit adultery, thou shalt not murder. They're very simple. And yet this is what's going on in the world today. And I,
Yeah.
people need, to change their perverted ways, or even themselves will suffer the consequences of their own perversions.
Yeah, we're living in very
And so
strange
I
times.
pray, I pray for people every day,
Mm-hmm. That's a
for
wonderful
their
thing to
safety
do.
and protection.
Yeah, yeah, I think at this point that's what we need to do. Need to pray for each other and take care of our families and keep working to spread this information. As you said earlier, it's an issue of knowledge and informing people and raising awareness. And hopefully everything that you've shared tonight, Robert, will go very far and will wake up a lot of people. And will also help educate people as to what's really going on with these vaccines and with vaccines in general, and therefore what they need to watch out for their own health and for the health of their children. Now that children can get the vaccine, you can be sure that there'll be lots of bodies coming out demanding that children get the vaccine and demanding to put it on the childhood immunization schedule and whatnot. But perhaps it's time for parents to get more responsible and understand what's really happening inside the bodies and blood of their children when they get vaccinated and take action appropriately.
Well said, Ramola. I want to thank you for providing this platform and having being a woman of faith and being a woman of courage to be able to stand up and be counted, as one that stands for righteousness, that stands for truth. And I never did tell you the words of that song that I wrote when I was 19 years old.
Who am I? Was the name of it?
Yeah. So here it goes. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can remember. It's been a long, long time. Who am I? Can you tell me why I'm here? Is there a God? Does he love me? When I die, will I go somewhere? Is there a God? Does he care? I believe in the sunshine, even when it's not shining. I believe in love, even when I'm alone. I believe in God, even when he's silent, because without God, all men are gone. Without God, all men are gone.
That's really beautiful. You're a great singer, Robert. Wow, you could have had another career. It's still never too late, right?
Well, I love singing, whether it be in the shower or other places, but
Yeah, yeah.
that was my
That's a lovely
passion.
song.
That was one of my passions, but it wasn't my path, and I've been on my path, like I say, for over 40 years, and my mantra is to change lives and to save lives. And in doing so, with this new ideology, this new way of living, this new way of thinking, this new way of eating, this new way of feeling, this new way of believing, and I've been passionate about for many, many years. This is not something that's new to me. And as I look back, it's over 40 years, and it's hard to believe that time has gone so rapidly and so many experiences. But I'm grateful for the path. I wouldn't change anything, the good, the bad, or the ugly. And I just uh, want to live my life and want to serve others and just remember the words of Mr. Rogers
Hmm.
when he passed. They found in his wallet a handwritten paper, and on that paper it said, "Life is for service." I
Oh,
would, for anything,
interesting.
that would be my greatest hope, that Dr. Young was a man of service, serving not just his family, not just his friends, but anyone in need. That has been my path, to love my neighbor as myself, and to love God with all my heart, might, mind, and strength.
That's beautifully said. Thank you, Robert. It sounds like, science was your path. And thank you for sharing, a little bit of all the wisdom and knowledge that you've gleaned over the years. I think everyone watching is going to be most grateful. And certainly everyone's watching is grateful for your work. I think many people are familiar now with your work and your voice and everything you've done to educate other people, whom, as you've pointed out, are kind of carrying on and sharing and helping to send the message of your work out into the world. So I could just say thank you. And any last
Well,
words for anybody before we close? Because we wanted to, I guess, focus on coagulation and clots for this one, which you've certainly done, taking us through your article.
well, are you asking me or are you asking others that are listening?
Yourself. Any last words before we
Uh,
close?
the last words is, as I mentioned, Mr. Rogers, that our life needs to be focused. That today, not only do we need to love ourselves more and take care of ourselves in order so that we can also show more love and care and help our families. And that, I truly believe, is the center of any healthy society, and focal point is the family. And that unit, that family unit of a man and a woman and children is so important. That family unit is so significant in society. And the diversion or perversion of the family can be devastating to society. And we've seen that in the past in other societies where they've diverted from, that particular unit. And I just hope that people will take a look at themselves and their lives, and start loving themselves, and realize that E equals MC squared only if it's accompanied by love. But and when we add that equation, and Einstein understood this, that love was the primary ingredient for energy equaling mass, or MC squared. So there we are. But thanks for the opportunities to share. I hope a lot of people will listen to this, will share it. Sharing is caring, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you. And on that note, thanks everyone for watching, and have a wonderful night. We'll see you again another time soon. Thank you again, Rob. Bye for now.